Seth. For the racetracks, the big ones. So Fairgrounds, Gulfstream, Oaklawn, and Aqueduct. Yesterday, so 4 different parts of the country, right? Santa Anita had canceled already. If you look up the charts, and I'm not going to do this, but just let you, I have never seen as many front-end speed winners win at 4 different racetracks on the same day as I saw yesterday. If you just take a quick look, go to equibase.com and the results, and you scroll down them, it is just like remarkable that in 4 very different parts of the country on a given day, speed was so good. So, I usually pay attention. You know, that's a group plus Santa Anita that I will work with through the winter. And I've never seen anything like it. You know how sometimes, Seth, you're observing something and you get that anecdotal feeling? And I'm obviously a spreadsheet guy, which is the opposite, I believe, of anecdotal. And I started looking it up, and I'm just amazed by, this is unbelievable. I don't know that I've ever seen the 4 major wintertime tracks that I have been following closely, Seth, for over 25 years, ever seen, you know, with spreadsheets. I mean, I've been in the spreadsheet since March of 98. Ever seen anything like it?
You know, you're talking about looking at the charts and whatnot.
Yes.
I wanted to go back. As you said that, I went back to last Sunday because I commented on Twitter after this race. I was in there doing the handicapping show.
I thought I follow you on Twitter. I didn't see anything pop up.
I had the crazy guy looking at the sundial and labeled him as the clocker of the 5th race last Sunday at Aqueduct. 5th race last Sunday at Aqueduct, 1 mile and an 1/8, 158.42.
Yeah.
And the kicker is, it was a closer that won off of early fractions, 23.49, 117, 144, and a closer closed in and won, which, I mean, you're not giving a lot of credit to the winner at 158, but the horses he passed, yikes. That was 158 and change for 1 mile and an 1/8. Oof. And as I say, the horses behind.
What did we have in New York? I think it was just before I went away. I don't know if it was back-to-back mile races or maybe a race in between. David Aragona put up, I think they went like 139 and change for the mile. And then an hour later, David Grenning put up, did you ever think you'd see 140? He goes, so that there you go. So it's you know.
I didn't see a number after I looked to see what the buyer is on that. Oh, oof, 158 and change. Yikes. And as I say, I popped up a picture of a gentleman looking at a sundial and said the clocker has completed his timing of race number 5. Oof. Let me remind folks, coming up here today at Capital OTB, $100 win-a-bet contest. So if you'd like to come down, enjoy racing here at the Clubhouse Racebook in Albany. Catch all the racing action, Sam F. Davis Day at Tampa Bay Downs. You can also enjoy a little extra, the 100-bet win-a-bet contest today. And don't forget, tomorrow, it's NYRA calendar giveaway day, one of the more popular promotions. Got our calendars in a week and a half or so ago. And the first 75 folks at the clubhouse tomorrow will get a NYRA calendar. So swing by. Don't forget, tomorrow is also Super Bowl Sunday, and there will be a Super Bowl watch party at Ferdella's. You can come down. Got a list of some nice specials here. They have chicken, bacon, ranch wrap, fish and chips, chili and cheese nachos, an appetizer platter, and much, much, much more food and drink specials. Ferdella's tomorrow with the watch party for the Super Bowl right here, 711 Central Avenue in Albany.
And a quick note on last Saturday's program where Uncle Heavy got it done for us against the track, which I thought was very impressive. I talked about Chad Brown's runner, leading contender, who I think was 1-2 on the morning line. They bet him down to, I mean, on the tote board, he'd be 1-5, but he was far closer to 2-5 because 1-5 is, I mean, technically he was 1-5 on the board. Is rarefied air for horses. but they get beat. And for years, I get it less often now. But I'm like, and I was surprised that Good Skate still paid only single digits with a 1-5 shot in the race. But I've said for years, it's like I am, and I had asked you on the program, I am such a non-believer in the free square thing. First off, I don't think it helps you if it's a free square for everybody. That's not the nature of pari-mutuel wagering. And that's an example, Seth, where I think that was the 5th race. I would love to see the data, not when it's the last leg because they put it up, but I would love to see the data of all the what was Good Skate paying, not Good Skate, but Leading Contender paying in the mutuals compared to, I think Good Skate was 7-2. What he actually paid, we know, but I would love to see the data on what Leading Contender was taking into, because I've said to you, and Brian Edo and I, we do not agree at all on this. That to me, remember I told you that Sandy had the $15 pick 5 the other day? I am the believer of, I would not have used Leading Contender, and it wouldn't be proper to say, well, I guess it would be. I would not use Leading Contender defensively. I'd be like, I don't want him at all. To me, there's no value in the long run of taking these so-called free squares. And it anecdotally, I think that way because of the nature of pari-mutuel. If we're all there, it's not worth it. It's different than sports betting. If we're all on the Chiefs Sunday, well, that's fine. But in pari-mutuel wagering, it's in my opinion, it's not fine. And by the way, just so you know, we are now plus $171, 12 cents shy of still that horse. I can't remember him that I won on Kentucky Derby Day. It gives me the sense. Had the last 3 times on the program, the 6th, the 13th, and the 3rd, we've really done well. But this is my point, and I'm not going to do this. I believe I need to make 50 cents on the dollar for the next 4 months. I have basically about 17 Saturdays, and 9 of them I already have in my hip pocket being up. I'm like, I believe this, and I'm going to keep a chart of this. I could take the morning line favorite and boa constrictor this to the end. Not work at all. I'm going to clock it starting today with David Aragona, who will probably be the morning line person from here to the week after the Belmont. But I believe I could take the morning line favorite and get to the end of 2 years in a positive ROI, which is a gigantic goal of mine that I never had before. But I am not going to do that. I did not get plus 170 by playing the game that way, and I'm not going to. But I want people to know it's out there. And I think because generally favorites have you over a period of time losing 20% on your money. I'm in the window where I can lose 50% of my money and get to the finish line. And don't think that's not going to be a mic drop moment.
It should be. Absolutely, it should. Well, it's a mic drop moment to be where you are now and be that far ahead.
Yes.
But going back to the pick 4, when we talked, I said,
by the way, it comes down to 2 horses.
Oh, well.
The $98 winner and the $75 winner.
The 2-year-old,
American Apple.
Yeah.
And the horse
that was the good
Conway.
one. That was the
75 isn't chopped.
Yeah, no, you're right. But going back to the pick 4, because I had said I liked Leading Contender, but I wasn't totally convinced, and I said if I was playing a pick 4, I would have spread in that race and hoped to beat him. But also it's what you have in the other legs. I mean, if you have a horse that's going to pay $20 in one of the other legs, then I think Leading Contender makes some sense. You have to parse out. It's more complex than just looking at the one leg, I think.
Okay. I don't agree because I think just the nature of getting paid in our sport. Rarely do I find favorites worth it in New York. Now, maybe.
Well, I will say the game has changed over really the past couple of years where horses get pounded now.
Somebody wrote an article about something that I've known internally. You know how we talk about 33 to 36% favorites winning is almost like the first commandment in stone. But somebody did something that I started to believe about 20 years ago, particularly in New York. The pay of those favorites has come down 20%.
Oh, that's interesting, and I can believe it. Like I say, I'm sitting in here in the afternoon now, and and it's not just New York. Like Finger Lakes or some of these secondary tracks, you have a $5,000 conditional claim, where you look up 2 to 5, and the horse looks like the best horse in the race, but 2 to 5 is Secretariat. Secretariat ain't running in any $5,000.
I agree, and that's where I think, like I say about Leading Contender, is there aren't horses worth that price maybe 3 times a year in the whole country. In my opinion, I'm like Leading Contender is not one of those. And the other thing I noticed, and we talked about this at Derby time, if you look up like the last 40 years of the Derby chart, we talk about it all the time now. Nobody's above 35 to 1 now. There used to be 3 horses above 80 to 1 before, and I think this is the computer people. They've just made it where a horse at 137 to 1 is a good bet to them. I mean, what else would change in the Derby? We've had basically 20 horses in the Derby since the 80s. What has dramatically changed where you don't have a handful?
Well, there's the argument that some of the long shot winners then tempted people to jump in
all the time.
And
okay.
So I don't know the answer to it.
But
exactly.
Nowadays, it's hard to get a 50 to 1 shot in the Derby. Yeah. They're all like 30. There's like 8 horses, 35 to 1.
But there was that kind of run of Giacomo, and there was a couple
of the two that come to mind. So we'll see.
All right, you ready to jump in?
I am obviously very enthused. I mean, I was looking at Thanksgiving. I was plus $60. So since Thanksgiving, I've added 110 to the plus side of it, and I'm not going to strangle it, although it did intrigue me for 0.5 of a second.
I'm going to look at.
Thank you.
It's good to know at least there was a thought. Thought about
it went right across my front windshield.
I'm going to look at Tampa a little bit later on. Sam F. Davis card today, which has some nice stakes. And top of the hour, Ren Carruthers will join us as well. There is an early post time at Aqueduct, 11:50 today, as they've been doing it various days this winter. And the opener at Aqueduct this afternoon. Maiden specials going 6.5. A short field of 5 in the open.
Not to be confused with the 12:27 post time for Tampa. And I am trying desperately, Seth, to get down there this spring. I kid you not. I can get to Australia, but I can't find a way to. And you're just going to see, folks. I am playing it like Fast Eddie Felsen said in the second match with Jackie Leeson. Here we go, fast and loose. 3-5-4, ladies and gentlemen. Seth mentioned the abbreviated field of 5, which really, in the big scheme of things, Seth, makes no sense. You're like, where are the horses? This should be like a 12-horse field. These are recently turned 3-year-olds. You don't have to take on your elders yet. That's probably coming in about a month. So you really want to be here. I'm 3-5-4, as you see on the board. The two. This is where I work this race, Seth, and this is where the buyer speed figures have helped me. What do you think it's going to take to win this race? I think a 67, a 68 will win it. Yes, Eliminate, who's even money, ran a 73 on debut at Saratoga, beaten favorite at 6-5. Okay. Well, since then has come back to run back-to-back, 64, 65. So, okay. So Laser Sharp, and I know, Seth, you're a fan of Sharp Azteca as a stallion. Well, my guy had 9-1 on debut, ran a 60. Now, typically, I'd be worried about muscle regression here, the old less well Mormino angle. But that debut race was December 14th. So in my opinion, the muscle regression angle is maybe pushed aside. I'm 6-1 on the morning line, so it's not one of those coming back at 1/6 or 1/5 the price. So I got that base covered. The even money favorite has run slightly better than my top pick at 1/6 the price. So to me, Laser Sharp for John Terranova the second, getting Lasix for the second career start is my top pick. For second, number 5, Todd Pletcher sends out the offspring of Into Mischief, who ran a 60 on debut. That was on synthetic. That was 2 turns down at Gulfstream Park, but that was November. And for third, I took a first-time starter, number 4, Mr. B. So I've thrown out the even money favorite with Dylan Davis, who's having a great meet. 3-5-4 in the opener.
Bold to throw him out, but I went against him as well.
See, to me, it's like
I used the other Pletcher on top. Coming up as recently as January 20th, was working down the Palm Beach Downs, and they elect to come up here. But one of the reasons I threw him out, just what you're alluding to, I don't think he's invincible. David Aragona has him at even money, and as we were talking, in a field of 5, he's going to get slammed. And he in the morning, we can look at the morning line and know he's going to be at 2-5, I think.
Well, he's definitely. I didn't. Okay. See, the thing that I took Mr. B as the flyer in that race. The other two, the 3 and the 5, to me, are in the neighborhood, and I took the one who's a longer price. It's like,
one of the things I like,
horses like
one of the things
eliminate
I like
forever.
The 5 is the other Pletcher, and I like that too, because he knows what he has with the 1, and he was willing to. That, of course, he may have entered to get the race, but I don't think you come up from Florida with that in mind. Second race at Aqueduct this afternoon. Maiden Claimers going 7 furlongs.
I want to take a quick pause because I didn't see the loop this much on December 25th. But I have to tell you, I remember being in the truck when you had Mark Henning on, who we love on this program for many reasons. We teased that it's about his reports at first, but I think the world of him for 30 years when I first met him, and he had brown hair. But he was talking about, having good meets and bad meets, and he was just like, it was a little bit more intricate than, well, you won maiden races, now you got to take on allowance. He was really, the information he was giving out to me was so awesome. I would recommend going to find it. My point is, so Pletcher has his horse from Florida coming up, ran on synthetic, and now maybe this is the start of a process that Todd has for like April or May. I don't want to find out at 2-1. But Mark Henning's interview with Seth's interview with Mark Henning last summer, look it up, and he really goes through it. Very understandable for the layperson about how your barn, and I could really see, like, we talk about having trainers having rough meets, but when you listen to them, you can tell that as a trainer, they have foresight, and they can see it coming almost, where they're just like, I'm out of the loop. This is going to be a rough patch. And we're sitting there going, oh, my goodness. But a month earlier, they saw it coming. Who's in their barn, where they're at, and the condition book. And they're just like, all right, they got to go to work. And I just looked that up. And I think Mark gives you, and that was my fear with Pletcher's Gulfstream horse. Like, no, he's got a race like in May planned out, and he needs to get up here. So, and I don't want to find out at 2-1. That's it. So 7-3-2 in the second. Little Skippy. Guess my top pick. I don't often talk about names, but I like that name. Horatio DePaz claimed this horse for $20,000, and this, so you put a claim in, and the horse is 7-2. I've talked about this a lot. No trainer, I think, would speak on the record. But I find it, from an accounting standpoint, inconceivable. I mean, if that horse wins, that has to destroy whatever accounting process you had when you dip in for maiden claimer 20, because there's no place else to go except up if they win. So they claim, they hold their breath. They've already gotten a check at a mile. Now they shorten up to 7/8. The Offspring of Heartspun's on the outside. I have good early tactical speed. Manny Franco rides back. Little Skippy is my top pick. For second, number 3, No Surrender. For Rudy Rodriguez, this horse fits in here, runs at this level, shortens up. And I know I said this last week, that Rudy Rodriguez has not, this isn't the right term, folks, but I apologize for not knowing the right term at the moment. He has not recovered from that rough Saratoga 2 years ago. He has been consistently at about 12% now for 20 months. We just remember Rudy being in the low 20s, etc. So this seems to be where his barn is positioned now. And for third, When Love Takes Over for Ray Handel, who's had a very, very good winter meet. 4-5 on the board. The buyer figures here, this is maiden claiming 20, but this is where no doubt the Beyer speed figures are going to take over. This horse dominates on Beyer speed figures, but maiden claiming 20, I'm not just trusting those types of horses. Horses already lost 11 times running better figures. So 7-3-2.
And you say you wouldn't get an answer from a trial. That in the claiming ranks, there are a lot of questions you're gonna. I think you would get an answer from everybody that they don't want their horse to win if they drop in for a maiden tag.
Well, I agree with that because obviously it makes a lot of sense. But what I'm wondering is, see, sometimes they claim they have they're not winning a grade 1, but they see big things down the road. They're like, this is not the step. But where it doesn't make sense from an accounting, because even if they're right that down the road this horse could win like 4 or 5 races in a row, claiming 50,000, they want the cash for this. I mean, but I agree that what I'd like to know is, does it destroy? Like, does your heart literally go down to the ground and go?
I would think in many cases, yes. Not all, but I would have to think, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
You do not want to win in that situation. Third race today, top of the page, I've written wide open. These are starter allowance types going 6.5 furlongs.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Seth, because I have been doing the Handicappers Report for 27 seasons. And I can tell you, I could show Seth this, that I have never once had multiple crossouts in a race. I folks, so on average, let's say I've probably done 2,000 Handicappers Report, and I can tell you no race came this way. And here was the rub for me, Seth. My first go through that I trust. Then I started to think how much I am very vested, Seth, in the idea of low-level claimers and starter allowance horses that they can't compete. I just am. I don't care about layoffs anymore. And as of right now, I believe that low-level claimings and starter allowance is a chasm as wide as the Grand Canyon. So when I realized that, I went back and I made multiple changes. I am 1A, 3, and 5. And I have to tell you that it really came down to this, that I don't want Uncle George. And I know as an adult, I have free will and I didn't have to take him. But it's either the 1A or the 5. And I know the 1A can compete at this level. So that's where I went. Then I took Quick Hammer, who was the reach for me in the second spot for Ray Handel, just coming out of a loss in a 2L. And then I have MB's Money for Orlando Noda, who did make a successful jump competitively from a restricted claimer to starter allowance, regressed on the Beyer scale. The long and short of it is, the Breeders' Cup Mile does not leave me as perplexed as the third race at Aqueduct today. I wish you all the best. There's probably never been a race on this program that I have felt as if I have no vision. I have no vision at all. Of course, there was the year remember when Tax won the Jim Dandy? Mm-hmm. They also had the Bowling Green, and I said there was about a field of 12. And I said on the air, I was with Brian, you can let me take 6 and I wouldn't take even money. I nailed it.
So we will see how the third turns out this afternoon.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how they bet. And because David Jacobson has the entry at 8-5. If they go hog wild on it, I would not want to be there. But it perplexes me.
I went with MB's Money.
Yes.
And both.
I feel as if
he actually finished in front of Uncle George last time, but I like that both of them. I like when trainers, when connections come back quick.
See, he was my first pick on top, and I almost always stay there, but I just it's
the 6-day turnaround. I like that. They're both coming out of that race just 6 days ago. I like that. Fourth race this afternoon. Plain vanilla $20,000 claimer. Again, 6.5 for
5-4-8. And I like this race with Slack Tide coming in second off the claim, been popular at the claim box. 0-for-3 at the big A, but I'll take Slack Tide with a good early speed for second to a T. 7-5 on the board for Linda Rice in here. Drops out of back-to-back entry-level allowances, and I'm not so sure they were that weak to come back for 20. And for third, number 8, Red Pepper Grill. Big price in here, 5-4-8 in a race that intrigues me because I didn't think To a T sticks out, and it's 7-5 on the board. It might be 4-5 when the betting's done.
Fifth race, we're looking at state bred maiden specials. They'll go 3/4 of a mile.
Right. 6-8-4 here. A bevy full of first-time starters, so it's guessing. But Geopolitics is my top pick. The 6, Bill Mott, offspring of Central Banker, one of the few stallions. I think I was slightly ahead of the curve on him. Steady workouts, ships up from Payson for the debut. Junior Alvarado's the number 1 go-to guy. Jose Lascano, I think this time of year is the number 2 go-to guy for Bill Mott. What do I know? For second, stress reliever, Chad Brown, runner, offspring of Practical Joke, is 5-2. And something I mentioned for the first time this past summer, Seth, where with first-time starters, I'm starting to look like not the most recent ones, but going back a little ways to see maybe where this horse tipped their hand and the trainer no longer needs big stuff in the morning. And for third, Aunt Yola, taking a chance, offspring of Run Happy, 6-8-4 in an intriguing fifth.
All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, more Aqueduct a little bit later on Tampa Bay Downs. Stay tuned. Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer. Wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now. Welcome back. Let's jump right back into Aqueduct on this Saturday afternoon. 6th race, $10,000 claimers. And again, 3/4 of a mile.
4-2-6 for me. High Heat goes out for the third start since late May. And that's where I like to be. I had a rock solid return to the races effort and then not much of a regression. And now I'm making the third start in the cycle. I'm at the same claiming 10 that I was on the comeback race after the layoff. And I think I'm highly competitive here with Eric Consell. I expect him to use a little early energy as he has previously. Prince James, Ray Handel's other runner, was a $16,000 claim. Showed nothing at higher prices. For third, number 6, Quick Flash. Mark Henning sends out this runner with Dylan Davis, who has had a great winter. 4-2-6 in the 6th.
Katie Davis' sister headed over to Saudi Arabia for the Jockey Challenge on their big race day over there. So it should be fun to root local rooting interest there.
I would like to go to that race also, but that race seems to come with a lot of political blowback.
Oh, well.
The Dubai race doesn't, but the Saudi race seems to you take some hits for.
Yeah,
so if I did it, it would be on the QT because I just don't want to hear about it on Twitter.
7th race at Aqueduct this afternoon. We're looking at conditional claimers going 7.
But it looks awesome. 1-5-4 disappearance for Oscar Barrera, the third. 1 going a mile in avoided claim race. Couple races back. I think here is at the right level, still a 3L, but at the claiming 14. Ski Patrol, Rob Atras, voided claim out of a second place finish. And for third, big save, Wayne Potts, Trevor McCarthy, 154. The reason I also mentioned the voided claim, Seth, and this is anecdotal, it seems like the first 6 months we had this, I don't remember too many. But now I see a lot more Vs on my PPs than I saw in the beginning. A lot more. 154. Before it was like a lunar eclipse. Now I see it more regularly, I think. Like I said.
I don't know. As you're saying it, I'm trying to think.
Tracks.
I don't know whether I've noticed a difference or not. But
in the PPs is where it shows up to me. I'm like,
eighth race. And
then I look at the barn.
The number is only one issue I have with that whole concept.
Well, the other thing
which I think was a great idea. Now I think it's being administered, maybe.
Well, the other thing is also because what I notice is how well the horse ran in the race with a voided claim, which is the part that has me going like this.
Yeah. And as I have said, I don't like the fact that the people who claim the horse
can't override
the void, which I think it would be a major step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned about that. But anyway, the eighth race this afternoon, allowance non-winners and one other than 1 turn, 1 mile.
It'd be interesting to say why they want to prevent adults from spending their money the way they want. 931 Silo Ridge, major player on the card to me. I think I would sign up for 3-1 right now with our good friend Lee Einseidler. Bill Mott's runner makes the third start since Saratoga. Our Kisco Dolly going out for Chris Engelhardt. Nice score, 2 races back in a starter allowance. And then scheduled a break from the number 4 post position is expected value, 931.
Ninth race this afternoon, stakes action, the Heavenly Prize Invitational, $150,000 up for grabs. They will go 1 mile.
A little like Uncle Heavy in the Withers, a little 437. I just want to touch on Lady Brew for a moment. Coming in, first time dirt, was in the most recent effort, a stakes race down at Laurel, 9 furlongs on the dirt. Finished third. Interesting trip. I have to tell you that the truncated comments brushed 3/4 poles and 3/16 was slight. And what I mean by that is I'm not so sure that'd be the part I took out of it, because I think it gives a real impression that I wouldn't want to give. What I would have left was wide and wide. And your impression of my wide and wide and watching the race would stand up. Lady Brew, second time dirt, I think has a real chance in here, a major chance. Now, Saddle Up Jesse ran second, looked like a winner in the stretch for Brittany Russell is in here, my third pick, but 12-1. 8-5. And Seth talks all the time about, and he's right that, well, Sat Up Jesse already beat Lady Brew. Well, that's fine, but it's 12-1 and 8-5. They're not like this. And then for second, I have Portage for Linda Rice. Second start since October. Stakes debut today, coming out of a loss in a 2X. But Lady Brew is my favorite horse on the card based on the price, and I think we'll get it 437 in the Heavenly Prize.
10th and final goes off at about 4:30 this afternoon. State Bred Made Specials going 6.
924 took a bomb here. Sonia's Flame. Now, this is predicated on one thing and one thing only. Orlando Noto is 0 for 7. Listen, it's Flame Away, the Stallion. This is just, if I can get on, I can get a big score here. I want to take it. For second, Book of Wisdom. Making the 7th career start. He's the veteran in the group. She's the veteran, has hit the board in 5 of 6. And then for third, Apollonia C for Bob Caceres. Nice on debut. Do you get that reference?
Well, it's Prince, right? Apollonia, isn't Apollonia? Wasn't
well,
she
that was one of the
Prince?
women. But I think the C is what changed it for me.
I do not get it.
The Godfather. The last name was Corleone. He marries Apollonia. They blow her up in the car, his first wife.
Okay. All right. I didn't remember that was
I'm
the
just,
name.
I mean, he really loved her. I mean, the way he looks at her at dinner, you know, but
didn't-
the C was what changed it from the modern one to the movie. I thought the C was Corleone.
I think you're probably right. All right, let's do a break. When we come back, Tampa Bay down. Stay tuned. There's no better place to enjoy horse racing action than the Capital OTB Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, just minutes off of I-90. The Clubhouse Racebook features over 200 flat-screen TVs, bringing you racing action from across the country, plus all the major sporting events. Racing info, tip sheets, promotions and events, track odds, plenty of parking, and a full bar and restaurant. Stop by today. Capital OTB's Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino, and as tracks have want to do, you know, and I think it's a great idea. Fairgrounds does it probably better than anybody else. Tampa, where they have these every fifth week or fourth week, they just commingle 4 or 5 stakes races. They almost always lead to the next one. Fairgrounds has 3 of them. It's just they have 3 of them. That's basically 5 different divisions in horse racing. That you get a January stop, a February stop, and then a March stop going on to the end of their meet. And today is a good day at Tampa Bay. And I was telling Seth off the air when we came on, I've been doing some research work for some of my spreadsheets, and boy, it is amazing where Tampa Bay has come in my lifetime. And not only my lifetime, I can remember when the old Horses and Courses show, when Champagne for Ashley, Howie Tescher's best horse he probably ever had, won the Tampa Bay Derby. I think it's the first time I had ever heard of Tampa Bay Downs, and I was 27. And where it's come now, got the turf course at the end of the previous century. Trainers love it. The opener at 12:27. Who knew? Claimers in for 8,000 2L.
12, 2, 1, and 5. I'm going to take a little shot with Merricky. The 12, it's my man Mike Deeney. Came back from a long layoff and tossed a clunker. And so, you know, deserved with the 12-1 morning line. But Mike Deeney's having a decent little meet. I don't want to let a Mike Deeney get away from me at a price. And I think this horse could be a little bit live with a rebound to a better effort. And I don't think that's out of the question in the second start back. There were some good workouts leading into that last race. So I'll look for this one to benefit from the seasonal debut and move forward. Charlie Lightning in the second spot, ran second last time at this level. The buyer, however, went backwards a little bit. So if we kind of mix the last two and get a better buyer from the start 2 back and a nice finishing performance like we had last time, Charlie Lightning is dangerous, and Circle the Moon comes in from out of town. I like the venue move for this one. Last seen on the synthetic at Gulfstream, but has run well on the dirt. And again, with the venue class move, I think Circle the Moon is playable in the first at Tampa, 12, 2, 1, and 5.
Could you pick Mike Deeney out of a lineup?
I could. I've had him on the show.
Okay, I now can. I saw him on TV. I go, now I know who Mike Deeney is.
I met him a few years ago up in Saratoga because if you remember, he was training a horse called Merrow. And so I stopped him and I asked him the genesis of the name, et cetera, et cetera. Subsequently, I tried to get him on the show, but he was in the midst of that but he played in the NHC a couple of years one of the years we were in Vegas doing it. So yeah, I've met him a few times before I even had him on the show. So.
Second race, there aren't many racetracks in America that run a mile 40 yards. Tampa does. Maiden special weights in the second.
2, 5, 6, and 4. Heartened on top. Short price for the Pletcher Jose Ortiz runner coming off an improved effort. I talk about these all the time. Lightly raced 2-year-olds, even lightly raced 3-year-olds. If they get a break, sometimes they can come back improved. I think that's the case with this one. Now, we'll have to prove it again on the dirt. The debut on the dirt I thought was okay, though. I think this horse is better now. I'm going to put trust in the connections that they're making a clever move. Idle Union in the second spot. Big improvement, start 1 to start 2. And I think off of that second start for this one, and again, it was a little bit of a layoff from 2 to 3. I think this horse has now come back as an improved 3-year-old. Smooth Player in the third spot by Outwork has not lived up to that win early sire yet, but did toss in a lifetime best buyer last time, so maybe rounding to better form right now to kind of get to that sire's precocious nature. In the second at Tampa, 2, 5, 6, and 4.
Staying with maiden special weights in the third, with the fillies, we're going to spring 6.
8, 2, 7, and 4. The number 8, Boldly Forward. I think we're all familiar now. City of Light, just a very nice sire. And of win early types, last year City of Light had 83 first-time starters, 15 winners, 11 seconds, 7 thirds. On the dam side, there was a sibling called Voila that won the career debut. Another sibling called Bold Confection. Took 5 starts to win, but through the first 6 starts, a couple of wins and a couple seconds. So I think there's win early, top and bottom. Trainers having a good meet. Boldly Forward, the 8 on top. Qualificata in the second spot. Started the career at out-of-town tracks that go back to October and November. So there's been a little bit of a layoff. And being from some of the out-of-town tracks, I'm not quite sure what the class level is going to be today. But the 2 races looked pretty good. The numbers are okay. But again, the horse is going to have to prove herself up maybe a little bit. The Dove Rules in the third spot by Buchero. Sire I like as a win early type. Ran third in debut. But again, with a little bit of win early breeding and that experience under the belt, should be a player today. In the third at Tampa, 8, 2, 7, and 4.
On to the fourth. We get to the turf at 9 furlongs. Claimers in for 16.
And I did look up the weather earlier this morning. It doesn't look like any rain in the forecast or anything. You do have dirt picks on the one sheet should something quirky happen. But on the turf, 11, 1, 3, and 5. I thought the 7 was also playable at 12 to 1. If you wanted to use that one, I wouldn't argue anyone off. But I used number 11 on top, Mega City. Question mark here is the outside post position, of course. But third start back from a layoff. Nice improvement, start 1 to start 2. And now a little bit of class relief. And I think it's justifiable class relief. So, again, I'm concerned about the outside post position. But otherwise, I think Mega City very playable in here at a little bit of value. Castagno in the second spot. Comes in off a couple of wins most recently. They were both for the 16 tag. Last time was claimed, but they come right back for the 16. So remains right in the comfort zone of the past couple of wins. Samyaza in the third spot. Mac Robertson horse is getting a class drop that I think is going to be beneficial. On the numbers, the horse is a square fit. Finishing positions haven't been as productive, but again, they were against better. So the class drop is the key here. In the fourth at Tampa, 11, 1, 3, and 5.
All right. Get the stakes action rolling. Mile 40 yards, mentioned that. The Suncoast, which had never had a $40 winner until last year, had nearly an $80 winner in a big upset. Dreaming of snow, we're not.
I had to stick with the short price here. We're coming out of the win in the Demoiselle, so I think Life Talk. It's Pletcher and Rapoli. The Demoiselle win, I think, just signals this horse is going to be a nice little 3-year-old filly for these. They get the season started here. Past couple of years, Pletcher isn't invincible at Tampa, but just to give you an idea, the past few years at Tampa, when Pletcher ships over, I looked it up last year, 2023 season, 25 starts for Pletcher, 5 wins, 5 seconds, 7 thirds. 2022, 23 starts, 8, 8, and 3. Going back to 2021, limited 14 starts, but 3, 2, and 2. So again, not invincible, but tends to do very well when he comes over. So as I say, I think just a clever spot to start the 3-year-old campaign for what was a nice little 2-year-old filly last year for Pletcher and Rapoli.
I loved her in the Breeders' Cup. She was a big price, and I thought I was a race early.
And yeah, that came out of the Breeders' Cup to then go and win that Demoiselle. Power Squeeze in the second spot, 4 starts so far, including a couple of wins. The couple of wins were the Maiden Breaker 2-back and a stakes race over at Gulfstream last time. So she seems like a budding 3-year-old filly to keep our eyes on. And Gorgeous Girl going out for Greg Sacco, who's having a nice, very nice Tampa meet. Comes out of a second place finish in the Gasparilla. And having races over the track, I definitely think is beneficial down at Tampa. In the 5th, I have a 4, 2, 6, and 3.
On to the 6th, last one before the break. Back to the turf, going a mile. Fillies and Mares, optional claimers, non-winners of 1.
8, 6, 1, and 2. The 5 just missed my mix. If you're there with the Riley Mott runner, I'm not going to argue. But I put Sputnik on top. Mark Cassie runner that attracted 400,000 by Uncle Mo.
There's a generational name. Our generation, young kids scratch their head going, what do you mean?
That comes out of the damn Spacey Tracy.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah. Debut effort was obviously very good. It was a nice win up at Woodbine in November. Now comes back, second start of the career, the 3-year-old debut. But lived up to the breeding. Uncle Mo on top. There was a sibling called Victim of Love that took 3 starts to win. 1 start, number 3, but followed it up with a stakes win. Another sibling called Space Mine that won its career debut, then ran second, then won the next 2. So it seems like the siblings kind of, once they got good, they were good. And so we'll look for Sputnik to maybe follow in that mold. Chad Brown and Peter Brandt have Sacred Image of a debut win right here at Tampa back in December. That one's going to be tough this afternoon as well. And Camilla T, couple of stakes tries most recently. They were not successful. I would think maybe moving back to the more proper non-winners of 1 will be beneficial, given what we saw in the career debut. But again, this is kind of a salty N1X. 6 to Tampa for me, 8, 6, 1, and 2.
Take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from Tampa Bay Downs. What I want to eat.
And they're off in the Pegasus World Cup. They're off in the Fountain of Youth Stakes. And they're off in the Curlin Florida Derby. Forte wins. White Arborio almost home.
And Nyquist is still unbeaten. Orb and John Velasquez have won the Florida Derby.
Barbaro wins.
And there you have it. Northern Dancer will be the winner of the Florida Derby.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back onto the 7th race. Phillies and Mares in the Minaret going 6.
1, 2, 3, and 5. Dream Concert on top. Kathleen O'Connell runner comes in off a series of pretty good races, including the last 2 stakes races at right here at Tampa. Nice close-up second place finishes. I think stands a good chance to break through today. Chi-Town Lady certainly going to take some attention. It's Wesley Ward. It's a horse that 2 summers ago won the test up at Saratoga. But did it at 17 to 1. This horse is the morning line. And I think with Wesley Ward and Tyler Gaffleone on board, and people look down and see that test victory, this horse stands a chance of taking some action, but not invincible by any means. Unifying in the 3rd spot, Riley Mott runner comes out of a 3rd in the Rampart over at Gulfstream. That was the first start off a long layoff. Has had some time to recover from that, given it was the end of December. And I think Unifying could be interesting in the first start of the 4-year-old season. In the 7th, the men are at 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Time for the boys in the 8th. The Pelican going 6.
4, 2, 7, and 8. I'll put Super Ocho on top. I think stands a chance to speed pop this field. There are some others in here who can show some early speed. I think Super Ocho may be the speed of the speed. Comes out about, they elected to pop over to Oaklawn last time, went wire to wire there. Before that, tried the Thanksgiving down at the fairgrounds. So this horse has been bouncing around. They've been picking spots and doing so pretty successfully in the last few starts. So again, I'll look for Super Ocho to maybe take them all the way around. Nakatomi going out for Wesley Ward, last seen in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, clearly is going to take a lot of action. Third in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, third behind Elite Power and Gunite. So that you get the company line there that is going to give this one a lot of oomph. A triple-digit buyer. Nakatomi, the one to beat. Sibelius in the 3rd spot off a nice win last time at Gulfstream and the Mr. Prospector. That effort, a repeat of that, makes Sibelius dangerous as well. In the 8th, 4, 2, 7, and 8.
On to the 9th. We get back to the turf at a mile 16. Fillies and Mares, maiden special weight.
7, 8, 1, and 5. The number 7 is active. Paid a couple of $100,000 for this runner. Hasn't quite lived up to it yet. You have Gun Runner on top, and again, a fairly steep auction price. There was a sibling called Naval Empire that won its career debut. Over the career, 13 starts, 2 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. So again, top and bottom, I think there's a little bit of breeding that this horse has yet to live up to. But with the Gulfstream start under the belt, which was okay and was an improved performance number-wise, I could see this horse running well this afternoon and maybe improving a little more. And given the complexion of the rest of this field, that may be enough to get it done in here. Gossiper in the 2nd spot, second-time starter for Bill Mott that I think has the potential to move forward in the 2nd start. And Stents and Statins for Chad Brown. Another one making the 2nd start of the career. This one off a debut at the end of the Saratoga meet that, frankly, wasn't a whole lot for a Chad Brown runner. But again, it's one of those being lightly raced as a 2-year-old, now comes back as 3 at 3. I'm not going to be surprised to see an improved performance. 9th at Tampa, 7, 8, 1, and 5.
Now, here you go. Who's the best horse to ever run in the Sam F. Davis? And I'll give you a hint. Got beat.
Did Street Sense run in the Sam Davis?
He's not the best horse to run in.
He was good.
He was good. He was solid. I always wanted to ask the trainer, who's now past it, Sewell Gold.
Oh.
Got beat at odds on. I always wanted to ask John Veach, what was the – now, so this is the early 80s
Yeah.
when Tampa was really – what got him to that? Because nowadays, and this is going back 15 years ago, the turf course gets rave reviews, so horses run over there. But what was Sewell Gold doing in the Sam F. Davis, I want to say 41 years ago, beating at odds on? And now we have the premier local prep for the Tampa Bay Derby.
11, 9, 6, and 4. I'm going to go with Fulminio. Go back and watch the last race. Really interesting trips for both. Change of Command was the winner there, and I have him running 2nd. They both ran great, but Fulminio gets off badly, goes to the back of the pack, and then gets moved up in kind of a steady drive the whole way around and wide. Takes the lead late. Change of Command runs big to run him down late, so they both ran big. But I thought, given the trip, Fulminio may have been had the trip to overcome there, whereas Change of Command, I think, was a little more in the mix. In that, not Change of Command, the Crazy Mason, excuse me. Crazy Mason comes out of that race. They both ran very well, but as I say, I think Crazy Mason was kind of sitting in a more favorable spot most of the way around to make the late run, most of the late run. But Fulminio, from the get-go, was kind of up against it, was wide all the way around. So I have Fulminio on top, Crazy Mason at the bottom of my mix. I did use Change of Command, probably the horse that's going to take a lot of action for Shug, coming out of a win last time at Gulfstream, following up a maiden special. So now I stuck a couple together. And Agate Road, intriguing. They couldn't get locked over here out of the Pletcher barn. Had a bit of a hiccup. So they scratched from a stake on the grass with Agate Road to come over here and try that one. I think on the scenario, he becomes interesting. In the 10th, the Sam Davis, 11, 9, 6, and 4.
And wrapping it up at about 5:45, a mile on the turf, Phillies entry-level allowance.
3, 8, 7, and 9, royalty interest on top for Chad and Klarovich. Third start of the career off a long layoff. Chad, I gave Todd's stats a little while ago. Chad is even better. Last year, 35 starters, 11 wins at Tampa. 2022, 41 starters, 18 wins. So he comes over with intent, and I think that'll be the case with royalty interest. Embrace Me in the second spot at a price. The Tommy Albatrani runner is intriguing to me. I will say Tommy Albatrani, I want to say last summer, somebody asked him, he had some horses that came out of Tampa and subsequently did very well. Springtime, last spring. And he said, yeah, I kind of use Tampa as a starting place. And they may not be wound up especially. So I suppose keep that in mind. But I think Embrace Me fits. Tap It Up in the third spot. Another one that I think could run well in here this afternoon. And again, at a little bit of a price in a field that pretty evenly matched, actually. And we'll see what it takes to get it done. But I have a 3, 8, 7, and 9.
And if the weather holds out, this should be a terrific Saturday of racing. We touched on the Big A. Tampa, one of their 2 biggest days of the year. Nice mix out at Santa Anita if the weather holds out. I think they're supposed to run the San Marcos. No idea what the turf is going to be like. I think they received 10 inches of rain over a week, so hard to imagine. Who do you have on Racing Across America?
Ren Carruthers will join me in just a couple of minutes. You see her paddock commentary down at Tampa. She was down in the paddock yesterday, and so we'll get a little firsthand update and some thoughts on the stakes action from Ren coming up. And then it'll be an abbreviated edition because of the early start at NYRA. Yes. The pregame show will kick off early down in New York today.
All right, he stays, I go, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great, mild February Saturday.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.